Welcome to Sunday Sunlight and Stories. This is your Sunday morning space to slow down and enjoy a story or two. So pour yourself a cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and let the day begin with warmth. I'm glad you're here, and I hope you enjoy today's story.
It was a beautiful spring day, the kind of day poets of the past would have written sonnets about. The sun appeared high, warm and bright, pouring gold over the ancient streets. Birds darted between the eaves of restored villas, their songs clear and light, while blossoms spilled fragrance into the air. Rafaela noticed them immediately, buzzing lazily from flower to flower. She smiled at the sight. It had been so long since she had seen bees, so many years when the world thought they had vanished. And yet, here they were again, as if the earth itself had been healed. The bees hummed through the air, drifting from blossom to blossom as if intoxicated by the abundance. They moved first over the familiar lavender and hibiscus, their purple and crimson petals heavy with nectar, before finding their way to the marvels of this age, the hybrids. The most striking were the aurora petals, a union of tulip and daisy, their blossoms painted in gradients of violet, crimson, and gold. In daylight, they shimmered like stained glass. By night, they gave off a faint phosphorescence, glowing gently so that the streets seemed rimmed with starlight. Their fragrance was sweet and cool, with a trace of honey that clung to the air long after the bees had departed. Beside them grew Solaris blooms, wide-petaled flowers of molten orange and yellow, their centers bright as miniature suns. Their scent was warmer, heavier than ripe citrus and spiced cinnamon, filling the air with energy and heat. Then came the Luminara blossoms, pale white in daylight, but edged with luminous green veins that pulsed faintly after sunset as though light itself ran through their stems. Their perfume was delicate and clean, like morning rain on stone. The most elegant were the Florians, long-stemmed hybrids bred in Rome's great botanical institutes, their petals curling outward like ribbons of ivory streaked with sapphire. Their aroma was sharp and fresh, blending mint and eucalyptus, stirring the senses. And scattered among them were the Talases, playful and abundant, their red and yellow faces open wide to the sun. They smelled faintly of wild honey and meadow grass, a reminder of fields long vanished. Together, these flowers made the city radiant, not only in sight but in scent, a Rome alive with color by day and glowing softly by night, where even the bees seemed drunk on beauty. She walked briskly, her heels clicking against the polished stones. Ahead of her stretched the skyline of Rome. Not the Rome of ruins or faded grandeur, but the Rome of tomorrow, towers climbing skyward towards the heavens, skyscrapers whose exteriors breathed with vines and flowers, a living composition where architecture and art moved as one. At the heart of the skyline rose the Aegean Spire, the tallest of Rome's wonders and the anchor of its space elevator. Its glass and steel skin was inlaid with abalone shell coils that caught the sun at every angle. As the light shifted, the tower shimmered and sparkled like opal, flashes of violet, green, gold, and blue rippling across its surface. It seemed less like a building than a prism, a column of living light that reached from the cobbled streets of Rome to the heavens above, where the tether of the space elevator disappeared into the clouds. Shuttles moved up and down along its glowing track, ferrying citizens and goods to the sky colonies beyond like beads sliding on a thread between Earth and the stars. Surrounding the spire, the towers of Rome unfolded like petals around a stem. Some swept outwards in arcs of crystalline glass, their sides gleaming as waterfalls spilled from terrace to terrace. Others stood in serrated tiers, balconies spilling fruit trees and fountains, branches heavy with figs and pomegranates glistening in the sun. Hanging gardens poured down their walls, woven with aurora petals glowing faintly purple and gold, and Solaris blooms blazing bright as tiny suns. The Luminara vines coiled up the sides of neighboring towers, veins of pale green light pulsing like slow heartbeats after dark. Florians crowned balconies in ribbons of ivory and blue, their mint rain sent drifting through the streets below. Lower down, Talases bloomed in cheerful meadows, their red and yellow faces lifting toward the sun, spilling laughter into color. And there were more marvels still. Celestara blossoms gleamed like constellations across glass domes. Rosamaris roses, edged in green, perfumed the air with herbal sharpness. At twilight, the Vesper lilies unfurled in indigo haze, flooding courtyards with intoxicating sweetness. Golden Aurelia vines curled lazily along bridges of translucent glass, glowing gently as canlight, while the Eternal orchids shimmered like pale ghosts, their fragrance soft and powdery as linen caught in a breeze. Around the Aegean Spire, the city was alive with people moving in harmony with its beauty. Merchants wove garlands from Talases to hang above their stalls. Lovers found shadows beneath the Aurelia vines to whisper under their golden glow. Children chased stray cats through courtyards, crowns of petals tangled in their hair, as drones hovered above, polishing fruit and pruning leaves to keep the terraces perfect for the eyes below. By day, Rome blazed radiant, its centerpiece tower a prism of shifting light, the surrounding towers crowned with gardens, fountains, and flowers. By night, the Areum spire glowed like a column of starlight, and the city around it shimmered in violet, gold, and blue. Pollen glittered in the spray of fountains, vines pulsed with slow radiance, and from a distance the skyline no longer looked like stone or glass at all, but like a celestial crown, its centerpiece tethered to the heavens. Raphael passed her favorite landmark, the Colosseum. Restored centuries ago, it stood unbroken, an eternal crown upon the city. Its arches cast long shadows across the cobbled streets, and tourists gathered, as they always had, to marvel at its grandeur. She had loved this place since childhood. Her mother used to take her there, pointing to the ancient stones and whispering about the voices of history that still lingered there. 700 years since its last restoration in 2725, Raphael thought. And still, it endures. To her, the Colosseum was proof that Rome could outlast anything. Her thoughts turned to her new beginning. Today marked her first day at the cybersecurity court, a role she had fought hard to earn after years of study. It was not just a job, a calling, a chance to safeguard the pristine world she lived in. Her professors had taught her about trust, discipline, and authenticity. Be yourself. Dedicate yourself. Believe in the system. The words still echoed in her mind. They had told her the future was secure, that her work would help keep it that way. And she believed them. She still did. She slowed briefly by a bakery, its windows alive with warmth and color. The pastries inside were exquisite, perfect layers of cream and sugar dusted with gold, the kind of delicacies that once had been reserved for kings. Now they were simply part of life. Inside, young men and women laughed together, their faces flawless, their eyes bright. They looked like paintings that had come alive, an image of health and joy. Everyone seemed so alive, so perfect, so unburdened. Raphael breathed it in, the sweetness of bread mingling with the flowers and the hum of bees. It was the best of times. Few graduates secured positions immediately, but she had. Unlike centuries past, where opportunities were scarce and people struggled to survive, here, now, the world was abundant. Robots handled labor. Artificial intelligence balanced the economy. Crops never failed. Weather itself was scheduled and controlled. No hurricanes. No droughts. The sun and rain arrived when needed, ensuring food was plentiful and people lived long, healthy lives that stretched to 150 years with ease. Raphael had grown up hearing stories of famine, plague, and war. They seemed like fairy tales now, relics of a broken age that humanity had finally left behind. She was not paying attention when her foot caught against a cobblestone that jutted slightly out of place. She stumbled, steadying herself, and looked down. That is odd, she thought. The streets of Rome never had flaws. Not anymore. But she knew the city would fix it soon. The maintenance robots never missed anything. Constantly patrolling, always correcting. She felt a brief smile tug on her lips. They were gift machines that could build, repair, and rewrite their own code. Another marvel of her time. She remembered the lessons from her memory downloads. The history no longer taught from books, but etched directly into the mind. Back then, people did all of this by hand, carrying bricks, patching streets, and even scraping waste from the gutters of ancient Rome to keep the city clean. Disgusting, she thought, shaking her head. Now, sleek automated trucks hummed through the boulevards, removing refuse without a sound. Humans only needed to check the systems occasionally, but even that was hardly necessary. AI kept everything running. It was the best of times. Few could have asked for more. Friends to share her evenings, a city that bloomed like a garden, a future brighter than the towers that climbed into the sky. What more could anyone ask for?
That brings us to the end of this episode of Sunday Sunlight and Stories. I hope today's time together gave you a little more light, a little more peace, and something good to carry into your week. If you enjoyed what you heard, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Your support helps us keep bringing you uplifting stories every Sunday. Until next time, may your days be filled with sunlight and hope. Thank you for joining us.